The wrestling world just exploded with shocking revelations as Braun Breaker finally broke his silence and explained exactly why he launched that vicious assault on Bronson Reed that left everyone stunned. What he said changes everything we thought we knew about this rivalry and the brutal path of destruction these two have carved through the WWE roster. If you want to stay updated on all the explosive drama happening in wrestling right now, make sure you hit that subscribe button because things are about to get wild. Just 5 minutes ago, Braun Breaker sat down and delivered a statement that sent shockwaves through the entire WWE universe. The intensity in his voice was unmistakable as he detailed the reasons behind his attack on Bronson Reed, and what started as a simple explanation turned into a declaration of war that promises even more chaos in the weeks ahead. Breaker made it crystal clear that his assault on Reed was not some random act of aggression or a moment of lost control. Instead, it was a calculated move designed to send a message not just to Reed but to every single person in the locker room who thinks they can challenge his dominance. According to Breaker, this entire situation began weeks ago when Bronson Reed started running his mouth backstage about being the most dominant force in WWE. Reed had been on an absolute tear, destroying opponents left and right with his devastating arsenal of power moves and that crushing tsunami splash that has ended countless matches. But Breaker watched from the sidelines as Reed climbed the ranks, and something inside him snapped when Reed started claiming he was unstoppable. For Breaker, a second-generation superstar with wrestling royalty flowing through his veins, hearing someone like Reed make those claims was not just disrespectful but downright insulting to everything he had worked for. Breaker explained that he represents a legacy that goes back decades, a family tradition of dominance and championship glory that Reed could never understand. When Reed started getting attention and accolades for his performances, Breaker felt like the spotlight was being stolen from where it rightfully belonged. He talked about watching his father and uncle tear through the wrestling world, establishing the Steiner name as synonymous with power and aggression. Now here he was, carrying that torch forward, and some guy from Australia was trying to overshadow everything he had accomplished. That simply could not stand. The attack itself was brutal and unrelenting. Breaker caught Reed off guard in the parking lot after a show, blindsiding him with a spear that would have broken most men in half. But Reed is not most men, and even though the initial impact was devastating, he tried to fight back. That only made Breaker angrier. He unleashed a flurry of strikes and power moves that left Reed battered on the concrete. Security and officials rushed in to break it up, but the damage was done. Reed was left lying in a heap while Breaker stood over him, chest heaving, eyes wild with fury, making sure everyone knew exactly who the real alpha dog was. But the story goes deeper than just one attack. Breaker revealed that there had been tension building between them for months. Reed had apparently made some comments in interviews suggesting that the new generation of powerhouses like himself were going to push aside the legacy guys who thought their family names entitled them to anything. Breaker took that personally. He saw it as a direct shot at everything he represented. While Reed might have thought he was just cutting a promo and generating buzz, Breaker heard it as a challenge to his entire identity as a competitor. Breaker also addressed the fact that management had been considering both of them for major opportunities. There were talks about championship matches, main event spots, and featured positions on premium live events. Every time Breaker thought he had something locked down, he would hear that Reed was also being discussed for the same opportunity. This created a competitive atmosphere that went beyond healthy rivalry and turned into genuine animosity. Breaker started to see Reed not just as another competitor but as an obstacle standing between him and his destiny. The physicality between these two men is off the charts. Breaker is a freak athlete with explosive speed and power that seems impossible for someone his size. He can hit you from anywhere with that devastating spear, and once he gets going, stopping him is nearly impossible. Reed brings a different kind of threat with his massive size and the ability to move with surprising agility for a man of his stature. When Reed hits the tsunami splash, opponents do not just lose matches, they get carried out on stretchers. The collision course between these two forces of nature was inevitable, and everyone in WWE knew it was only a matter of time before things exploded. What made Breaker's revelation even more shocking was when he talked about Reed's mindset. According to Breaker, Reed had been walking around backstage acting like he owned the place, disrespecting veterans, and talking down to younger talent. Breaker heard stories from other wrestlers about Reed's attitude, and it reinforced his belief that someone needed to humble the big man. Breaker saw himself as the perfect person to deliver that reality check. He had the skills, the pedigree, and most importantly, the desire to prove that respect is earned, not demanded. The aftermath of the attack has created chaos throughout WWE. Management is scrambling to figure out how to handle this situation because both men are valuable assets to the company. Fans are divided, with some supporting Breaker's aggressive approach and others feeling he went too far. Social media erupted with reactions, and within hours, the incident was trending worldwide. Everyone had an opinion about whether Breaker was justified or if he crossed a line that should never be crossed. Reed has not remained silent through all of this. After recovering from the initial attack, he issued his own statement promising retribution. Reed made it clear that Breakker had made the biggest mistake of his life and that the pain inflicted in that parking lot was nothing compared to what was coming. Reed talked about how he built his career on toughness and resilience, overcoming obstacles that would have crushed lesser men. He portrayed Breakker as a spoiled legacy kid who never had to struggle for anything and now could not handle the fact that someone without a famous last name was getting recognition. The war of words between them has been intense. Breakker fired back at Reed's comments by saying that Reed talks too much and does not back it up when it matters. He pointed to their brief encounters in the ring, claiming that every time they went face to face, Reed backed down. Reed disputed this version of events, insisting that he was always ready to fight but circumstances kept them apart. Now with the attack in the open and both men committed to settling this feud, there are no more excuses or distractions. They are on a collision course toward what promises to be one of the most brutal matches in recent WWE history. The psychological warfare has been fascinating to watch. Breakker uses his family legacy as both a shield and a weapon, reminding everyone that greatness runs in his blood. He carries himself with the confidence of someone who knows he is destined for championship glory. Reed counters by positioning himself as the self-made man who earned everything through blood, sweat, and determination. He represents everyone who did not have doors open for them because of their last name. This clash of ideologies adds layers to their rivalry that go beyond just two big guys hitting each other. Training footage has leaked showing both men preparing for their eventual confrontation. Breakker is in the gym throwing around weights that most people could not even lift off the ground. His conditioning work is insane, pushing his body to limits that seem superhuman. Reed's preparation is equally intense, focusing on his power base and making sure his body can withstand the punishment Breakker will bring. Both men know that when they finally meet in a sanctioned match, it is going to be a war of attrition where the tougher man will emerge victorious. The locker room has been forced to take sides. Some wrestlers support Breakker, viewing him as someone upholding the values of respect and tradition. Others back Reed, seeing him as representing the new guard that refuses to bow down to legacy names. This division has created tension backstage that affects everyone. Tag teams are split on who they support, factions are dealing with internal disagreements, and management is trying to keep the peace while also recognizing that this rivalry is generating massive interest from fans. Financially, this feud is already proving to be a goldmine for WWE. Merchandise sales for both competitors have skyrocketed. Every time Breakker or Reed appears on television, ratings spike. Social media engagement is through the roof with fans debating every aspect of their rivalry. WWE executives are thrilled with the organic heat this feud has generated, and there are already discussions about building an entire pay-per-view event around their eventual match. The violence is only escalating. After Breakker's initial attack, Reed waited for his opportunity and caught Breakker coming out of the arena after a show. Reed launched his own assault, using his size advantage to ragdoll Breakker around the parking structure. It took a dozen security guards to pull Reed off, and even then he broke free twice to deliver more punishment. Breakker was left bloodied and furious, vowing immediate revenge. This cycle of attacks and counterattacks has created an atmosphere where nobody knows when or where the next explosion will occur. Medical staff has been on high alert because the injuries these two are inflicting on each other are legitimate. Breakker suffered a deep cut above his eye that required stitches. Reed has been dealing with bruised ribs from multiple spears. Neither man is willing to take time off to heal because they refuse to show any weakness. They both believe that stepping away even for a moment would give the other man a psychological advantage they cannot afford to surrender. The intensity of their promos has been off the charts. When Breakker gets a microphone, he speaks with a fire and conviction that is impossible to ignore. He does not just threaten Reed, he promises destruction in vivid detail. Reed matches that intensity with promos that feel less like wrestling angles and more like genuine threats. The lines between character and reality have blurred to the point where fans legitimately wonder how much of this is scripted and how much is real animosity. Behind the scenes, there have been multiple meetings with WWE officials trying to establish rules of engagement. Both Breakker and Reed keep violating those rules because neither cares about fines or suspensions. They want to hurt each other, and corporate policy is not going to stop that from happening. This has put management in a difficult position because they need to maintain some level of control while also letting this feud play out in a way that feels authentic. The anticipation for their match is reaching fever pitch levels. Every week that passes without them getting in the ring together builds more tension. Fans are creating fantasy booking scenarios about how the match should be structured. Should it be a regular singles match, a no disqualification brawl, or something even more extreme like a steel cage or last man standing match? The options are endless, and each would provide a different kind of violent spectacle. Training partners for both men report that their aggression levels in the gym are through the roof. Breakker is going harder than ever, pushing his body to be in peak condition for when the match finally happens. Reed is doing the same, adding extra conditioning work to make sure his gas tank will not fail him in what promises to be a long and brutal battle. Both men are visualizing victory and preparing for every possible scenario they might encounter. The press coverage has been extensive with mainstream sports outlets picking up the story. This feud is bringing attention to WWE from casual fans who might not normally follow wrestling. The real-life tension and legitimate physicality make it feel more like a combat sports rivalry than traditional wrestling storytelling. This crossover appeal is exactly what WWE wants, and they are capitalizing on every opportunity to promote these two warriors and their collision course. As we move forward, the question is not if these two will meet in the ring but when and under what circumstances. The attack that started everything has evolved into something much bigger than anyone anticipated. Breaker's revelation about why he attacked Bronson Reed opened a door to understanding the depth of animosity between them, but it also made clear that this is far from over. Both men are committed to proving they are the most dominant force in WWE, and only one can stand at the top when this is all said and done. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because this story is developing rapidly and you do not want to miss a single update on what promises to be the most intense rivalry of the year. The war between Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed is just getting started, and the carnage they will unleash on each other will be talked about for years to come.